This is the one thing that I could have easily left over, you know?
Beyond the addiction and everything else, this is the thing.
Yes, because this is
this
the
caused
root.
more problems.
This is the root of the problem. This was the root of the problem. If this didn't change, I felt like nothing else was going to fully change within our lives.
Welcome back. Welcome. What?
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Can you start over? When did you hit record? Yeah.
I didn't.
You didn't.
Sorry. Ready? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Till the Wheels Fall Off. I'm Matt.
I'm Paige.
Continuing our discussion on dysfunctional family systems. We got a lot of feedback on that one. I shouldn't be surprised because I think it's really common. It's really, really common. I know that you guys may wonder how we know so much about relationships and whatnot, and more will be revealed about us that you don't even know yet. But this is why. Dysfunctional family systems. And we're going to dive deeper into what that looks like. We're going to talk about emotionally immature parents. We're going to talk about enmeshment. We're going to talk about neglect. And I think it's going to be really helpful.
And we're going to talk about when to go no contact. Because I think a lot of people have a lot of questions when it comes to that. Like, when is it, appropriate to just say are you going to hold boundaries and everything's going to be okay? Or when do you just need to go no contact? And we're going to discuss that too.
Yeah. Estrangement from parents has never been more common. Or if it has been, it's just, we haven't been aware of it because of social media, but it seems like it's everywhere now.
Well, yeah.
Then there's a good reason to do it. And generally it's not just because you disagreed over what to bring on Thanksgiving. This is real stuff. This is deep shit. And there is a time and a place for it. Believe me, there is. So we're going to get into that, what that looks like. First things first. Hey, thanks to our sponsor today, SoberLink. Come on, guys, get it on the program. If you don't know what this is by now, it means you're skipping the first 30 seconds or a minute of this thing. And come on now, support the companies that support our show and the companies that are trying to support you. If you're anything like me and you're trying to rebuild trust, you will quickly see that trust is lost in buckets and it's rebuilt in droplets. And it's a very difficult thing to do. I've always said the best way to rebuild trust is to change your behaviors over a long period of time. But the fact of the matter is, some people need a little push. Some people need to be held accountable, and SoberLink can help you do that. It is an accountability device. It's got military-grade facial recognition technology. It is tamper-proof. It is something that you can't screw with. The person that volunteers to use this device can be guaranteed the person that is showing results every time you get a report whenever they blow into it. And it shows, hey, they're sober, or no, they're not. They're having trouble. They're struggling. And you can set up a network of people that are supporting you on your sober journey. So whether that's your spouse, if that's a friend, if that's a pastor or a sponsor, or it could be a counselor, whoever, get people around you who are really trying to do this deal. I always ask people, what's going to be different this time? And they'll give you some roundabout answers and nothing really amounts to much of anything. But if you're serious, put your money where your mouth is and get a device. You can't go back on it at that point. It's out there for everyone. You have volunteered to reestablish trust and accountability. And it's going to be really helpful for your husband or wife as well, because they're going to know that they're not crazy. And that's a gift that you give them. Whenever they're looking at you like, he looks a little off today, I think he's been drinking, they will get validation if it shows up that you've been drinking that day. On the other side of that, it helps them reestablish what tired for you actually looks like, or what having a bad day looks like, or why you were running late, and they can actually begin to trust you again. This reestablishes trust in a relationship, and it's super helpful. And if you're in a situation that's beyond repair and you're just trying to make sure your kids are going somewhere safe, SoberLink is there for you there too. It's court admissible in all 50 states and in Canada, is trusted by over 200,000 people, and is considered the gold standard in courts. They're familiar with these things. You can get them written into your custody agreements. They've been really generous. They're giving our listeners 50% off a device. That's 50%. Go to soberlink.com/wheels. Enter your email address. They'll send you a coupon voucher where you can get 50% off a device. Again, that's soberlink.com/wheels. Thank you so much to SoberLink for sponsoring today's show. Again, if you're someone that's looking for something like this, give SoberLink a shot.
Awesome.
Let's do this thing.
Thank you. Okay. We're first going to talk about what an emotionally immature parent is. And I think this is important also for listeners and And people in general, if you are a parent, you're making lots of noise over here.
Sorry, I'm moving my chair.
If you are a parent, this could also bring some awareness to your own situation and how you want to parent your kids to make sure that you're doing the best that you can as a parent. This is something that has been beneficial for me learning over the years what it means. It's like, ooh, maybe I do that. Do I do that? Well, if I do, I need to change that. Most emotionally immature parents don't really realize that they're emotionally immature and they don't, really change that. But I think that we can bring that up and help you if you're struggling with that yourself too.
Off topic question, but do you think parents of a generation before, 2 generations before, like thought about parenting this hard?
No.
Like it seems like our generation does.
No, there wasn't social media back then. You only dealt with your own your small community. You only knew what you knew, and you were just doing what you knew and the best that you could in that situation. Like now, we have so many resources and we have so many people out there who are like, ooh, that might not be the best way to raise your kids, so you might want to change it up a bit. Yeah,
there's a million books, there's podcasts, there's all kinds of information that's out now that our parents didn't have. And before we get into this, and it sounds like we're just grilling our parents, I think we should preface this all by saying, like, people do the best they can with what they had.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Generally, you are a product of your own environment, and a lot of the tools that you come to have as an adult were put there when you were a kid, and they were what you observed.
Yeah.
And I think that anyone listening to this who's ever been in a position where you've had a fallout with parental figures or you've had to go no contact very much understands this. But it's a sensitive subject, and I just want to honor that by saying I very much understand that it's not easy to be a parent, and you realize that quickly when you become one, and you start to look at what your parents had to go through, and you're like, oh, I kind of get it now. I kind of get why they did X, Y, Z, or why they handled it this way or that way. And so shout out to all the parents out there. This isn't to grill anybody. I think we can all learn and we can grow from things, but there is such a thing as a system that is too dysfunctional.
Yes.
And there are things we can do to help navigate that. Also, I think when it comes to these types of relationships where there's addiction present, oftentimes, like I can speak for myself here, you come from a system where that was the most likely outcome in a lot of ways. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Mm-hmm. I'll just put it that way. Yeah. And everything that comes with that.
Right.
Like we talk very little about like how to deal with your drinking here or what to do when you're struggling with triggers or any of that shit. It's everything around it. It's the emotional immaturity. It's the defensiveness. It's the behaviors that surround that are as ingrained as anything else in people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of what I'd like to really focus on here because we've got a lot of experience with this.
Yeah.
You've got the most experience with this.
Well, from an outsider, yes.
Yeah. Seeing it firsthand from the outside.
Yes, absolutely. But also what it all boils down to is that I believe that the generations before us kind of lacked accountability and self-awareness and didn't really know how to change their behaviors. It was more of like, this is who I am. This is how I was raised. This is what I know. And I'm not going to change because this is who I am. Well, now we have more things that help us become more accountable. We have people that love us that tell us like, hey, go to therapy. This is harming me. Do something about it. But the generations before us were like, no, that's just who I am. There's lack of accountability. And I think that's what like all of this, what we talk about all the time is just the lack of accountability and change behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it's become more normal than ever to sort of push back and question things when before that just really wasn't done. Like, I don't think it ever occurred to my parents that like I could be doing this wrong. Like at any point, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's mainly like, oh, well, I did the best that I could. This is what I did. That's the best I could.
You had it better than me.
Okay, I've never been told that, but that's a problem. Okay, all right, let's get into this real quick. So let's talk about what is emotional immaturity. Okay, this is when parents who are reactive, they're self-absorbed, unpredictable, dismissive of their child's emotions, or reliant on their child to meet their needs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you recognize this?
Very much so. This is like, for me anyway, this is like when your adult mother mimics the behaviors of your 14-year-old girlfriend. This is what that was like for me.
Yes, which is almost like enmeshment too.
Yeah, it is,
which we'll get
man.
into. We'll get into that in a minute.
Emotionally immature parents, and you won't know it until you get a little bit older because I almost look at it like they're stunted, like something has happened in their life and they're great up to a certain point. So when you're really young, you wouldn't ever notice it because they're more mature than you when you're 7 years old. It becomes a real issue when you become an adult.
An adult. Yeah.
When you're an adult and you're trying to have adult conversations with someone who's emotionally immature, especially a parent, it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible.
Right. But you're also typically starting to outgrow these people.
Yeah, you outgrow them.
That's what happens, is that you outgrow them. And here's the thing, like as a parent with my kids, like I hope they outgrow me one day, you know, in a way. I do hope that they do better than I do. Like I want to learn from them. And I'm not going to like hold that against them, but I think a lot of parents do that. They'll hold it against them. Like, no, I'm your mom. You're my kid. You do whatever I say and blah, blah, blah. But I see myself in some of this. And I'll be honest with you when it comes to emotional, immature parenting. I see myself, this is what I was talking about earlier, is like how we need to discuss. When we discuss this, I want you to be able to like maybe dissect it for yourself just in case like there's something that you can work on. Only difference with me is that I'm recognizing it and I'm trying to change it. You know, a lot of emotionally immature parents aren't going to look at that. They're like, no, I'm the parent. That's just what I do. Or they don't even want to discuss it. But occasionally we're reactive, you know, that's just normal things, right? But I think that when it comes to there's like toxic reactivity where you're constantly reacting towards your kids instead of like pausing. It's like you're mad and so you just yell at them and you just get mad at them all the time. That's probably what they're referring to in this definition.
Yeah. Do you remember we were talking the other day, like we were driving, having some kind of philosophical discussion on those back roads coming in from downtown.
We have a lot of philosophical and conversations.
And you asked me, I can't remember what I said, but you asked me like, what's the definition of maturity to you?
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Do you remember what I said?
I don't. I just remember the conversation. I remember the question. I don't remember what you said though.
I remember we massaged it out for quite a while. And we ultimately landed on something to the effect of it's being able to process through your feelings with an outsider's perspective rationally rather than just reacting on them.
Yeah.
It's the ability to respond rather than react. It was something to that effect, I think.
Right. We were talking about being impulsive.
Yeah.
Because it's not being impulsive. It's really actually thinking before you speak, thinking before you act, thinking before you do anything instead of just being impulsive on things.
Yeah. And that is usually born out of a process of reacting the wrong way and having your ass humbled many times as you're doing it, whether you're corrected by someone growing up or another adult pulls you aside, or maybe your adult children stop talking to you. But there's another degree of emotionally immature parents that never really get there. And I think it's what you're saying is funny because I think we could read through this list and we'll just go through the list real quick of traits. It's a lack of empathy.
Yeah, but I was going to say that I was unpredictable sometimes too. Do you think I'm unpredictable as a parent?
No.
Really?
Not really, no.
Damn.
You're really consistent. And this is what I'm saying is that I think that anyone who's actually able to examine themselves and ask and like critically look at themselves you're already probably not an emotionally immature person.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
Critically examine this stuff and say, am I or am I not? And look at it through the lens of an outsider and really be honest with your behaviors and say, well, there's that one time that tells me right away that you're someone that is trying to grow and you're not an immature person by any means.
Right.
There's another group of people that when their feelings are just facts and those feelings to them are as real as anything in the world. And I know you're feeling that way, but it's not appropriate for the situation. And they just react and they're really impulsive about that. And then they don't apologize for it. And they never think twice about, could I handle that better? And if they do, it's usually guilting you for making them quote unquote feel bad about it. And those are like, that's kind of what
it's like the excuse of saying like, I can't help what I'm feeling. Therefore you're reacting, but you can, it's not that you can't really, I mean, you can change your feelings, but you can, oh my gosh, what is the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. I think I see what you're saying though.
But you can choose your actions and your behaviors and the way you react.
Your responses.
You know, like your responses. But when it comes to the feelings, you don't need to act on those immediately. You need to.
You can't control your first thought, but you can your second.
Right.
That's kind of the way I've always looked at it.
Right. Yeah.
It's that when that thought hits or that feeling hits, that's just the way it is. Like that stuff is, can you untrain that? Maybe after some time, but it's always going to be there to some degree. But then you have a choice to make at some point. Am I going to respond the way that I feel like I should or the way that I know is right?
I think that's why we had another conversation between feelings and logic.
That's what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feelings and logic. And that you can make your decisions based on logic and not necessarily feelings, but there's like a middle ground there.
Okay.
That's a Pages Perspective episode that I need to do.
Love that. Is that coming this week?
Yeah. No, I don't know about this week, but at some point. All right. So let's talk about the traits.
Okay. Some of the traits that are common here, and this isn't an all-inclusive list by any means, but lack of empathy.
Now, there can be fake empathy as well.
Performative empathy.
Performative empathy.
This is more of a narcissistic or like a
yes, it is.
Psychopathic trait.
Yes, it is.
But lack of empathy, you've got, hang on, I screwed this up. Okay, yeah. Lack of empathy, defensiveness, and blame shifting.
Okay.
These are people that never take responsibility for anything.
Right.
Anytime that they're questioned or challenged, you're never met with anything other than pushback. It's, I can just think of some things that went on in my own home. You know, my mother would throw things or smash shit. And if you tried to challenge her on it, it was always defensive. And there was always a reason and always an explanation for why. But what it really amounted to was an excuse and never an apology. It was just defensiveness or blame shifting, blaming it back on me. Like, if you weren't such a bad kid,
yeah.
I'd heard that in my life. Believe me, it's because of you. It's because of the way you respond. I responded that way. And we're not talking about like, I was a fucking kid. We're not talking about like reactive defense or anything like that. Like, this is a parent, right?
Right.
Every parent has been driven crazy to some degree by their kids, but it's not like I was doing this, like baiting her or anything else. She just responded poorly.
Right.
Gets really defensive and they shift blame back onto other people. It's never their fault. It was the way that they were raised. It was the person at the red light this morning. It was the cashier. It was your other parent, your father or whoever the hell, man. It was just always somebody. You've also got rigid thinking and these black and white perspectives. It's all or nothing thinking, man. Say something, Paige.
That's something I've been working on my entire life. But I think a lot of people have
that. It is
honestly.
the most common cognitive distortion of all time.
Yes, it is.
We are all guilty of this at some point in our lives where we're thinking in absolutes, right? If my day's not going well, then it's totally ruined. Or one small thing will happen during your day and you think your whole day is ruined. That's sort of a catastrophizing, but it's also black and white in a lot of ways, where things are either good or bad, as opposed to just sort of this middle ground, and it's fluid. But yeah, black and white thinking. A lot of immature parents are black and white thinkers. And when it comes to things like loyalty as a parent or as a kid, like if you're defending your wife or something to that effect, then that means you don't love them. That means you don't respect them. It's like, it doesn't mean any of that stuff. It doesn't. And this is sort of the stuff that you'll get into when it comes to these types of parents. Let's say that someone needs to get into treatment. I've seen this more times than I can count when grown adults, right? And for whatever reason, a mother-in-law is still involved, or maybe a father-in-law. Usually the mother-in-law is still involved, like with that guy, probably more than they should be. And like someone needs to get into treatment and they're way more involved than they should be. They want to be in all the sessions. They want to be updated constantly. It's like, ma'am, he's 40. Like, and they take offense to that, because if I'm not involved, that means I'm useless.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's sort of this catastrophizing black or white thinking as well. But this is a sign, a hallmark, a sign of someone who's emotionally immature.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Poor emotional regulation is another one. We talked about this, where they're flying off the handle, whether that's, the woe is me, everyone hates me, I'm awful, or if it's on the other side of that, like getting way too excited and incredibly dramatic about anything, right? Let's say that they haven't seen you or the kids for a little while, and who wouldn't be happy about that? But breaking down and making a scene,
making it very awkward,
making it really awkward for everyone is a sign that, like, oh shit, like this person's not regulating their emotions like someone their age ought to be,
right?
I mean, maybe it's not even an age thing, right? That's probably not even fair. Well, actually, I take that back. That's fair. Like, shit, at this point, if you're 65 years old in this planet, you should have tools better than that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. It is what it is. Like, again, all or nothing thinkers out there, not saying that there aren't reasons for why people do this. A lot of times it's unresolved trauma and a lot of their own issues. And I empathize with that, but we're talking about how this affects other people as well.
Yeah,
And that's what our show is about. It's finding that middle ground. And I hope you can understand and follow along. Another one is treating their kids like they're always children, treating them like infants for the rest of their lives, or controlling behavior. I stumbled upon a funny area of TikTok today, actually.
Oh, Lordy.
It was I think the page is actually called like Moms Freaking Out About Tattoos or something. And it was grown ass adults showing up at their mom's house and the mother seeing a tattoo on their kid and losing it, man. Like screaming, yelling at them. And it's almost as if someone took like a knife and just like carved an anarchy symbol on their coffee table.
My God.
Like, this is not your property that someone just defaced. Like, this is an adult, independent of you with autonomy, making decisions, whether you agree with them or not. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, aren't they a product of you? So like, what does that really say? But just having no space whatsoever for this like individuality, because like you are my property. And that's how a lot of emotionally immature parents look at their children. They're extensions of themselves, and you're property. You are my property. You belong to me.
Yep.
And they have a really hard time sharing whenever those boys grow up and they get into the families of their own. And it becomes really problematic.
Yeah.
Really, really problematic.
Yes, it does.
Those are just some of the traits. There are more than that. There's a really good book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I read this book and have never felt more seen in my entire life, I don't think. I was in tears on the bed reading it. Remember, I was just like, I've never come across something like this that spoke. And I didn't know there were other people that had dealt with this.
I wanted you to read that book for a very long time and you were not ready to read it.
There's a time and a place where you're ready to read that kind of stuff and when you're not.
True. So what does this do to a child? What can it do to them?
I think at 30,000 feet, you never really feel seen. You never feel like you're an individual who's allowed to have your own feelings and emotions about things. You walk on eggshells, always fearful that you are in charge of your parents' emotions, so like your mother's emotions. Like however they respond is up to me. And so you craft your words, you craft your world, what you do and don't do very carefully as to not upset them, because you've been trained for so long. And I didn't know this at the time, but you're trained for so long to just not be able to be yourself, really, because you're always in so much fear about how they're going to react or how they're going to respond. And like, you love your parents, like that. Part of that's just biological, right? And the other part of it is that like you do love them, that it's not all bad.
I wonder if that's why you were good at manipulating.
That's a good question. We can dig into that sometime, maybe.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Because you had to like really.
Yeah, you have to
carefully word your words, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Like you have to think about it a lot more than you probably should. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know, but you grow up feeling like you have to walk on eggshells because you're always going to be responsible for however they react. And they will essentially tell you as much as well. Like they will basically tell you, like, you're my rock. They'll say things like that. Like you're the rock of this family.
Yep.
Like I need you.
I can't talk to anybody else but you.
Yeah.
You know,
like when my world falls apart, you've always been there for me. You've always been such a good son. They'll say that when it's like fitting anyway, but there's also the other side of that. Whenever you don't go the way that they would want you to, that you're just the worst human in the entire world. And so I think as a kid growing up, like when you become an adult in the world, you sort of feel like you've never really been seen or validated.
Yeah.
Because you haven't been allowed to have emotions in what is the most important relationship of your life up until the point that you meet your spouse.
You weren't allowed to have your feelings or say what you wanted to say without it backfiring.
Yeah. And then you also feel, I got really resentful and bitter about this at one point where I got tired of feeling like I always had to be the adult in the room with adults.
Oh yeah.
And
like,
I should not be the voice of reason at 20 years old. You're supposed to be telling me what to do. I'm supposed to be able to reach out. See what I'm talking about? Okay. So anyway, so I'm supposed to be able to reach out and like ask for advice at this point in my life. And you're supposed to be a mentor to me, and you're just always the adult. And at some point you have to like parent your children, or you parent your parents. And it's you feel like you've been robbed at some point. I've always kind of felt like there's an emptiness in me to some degree that I got robbed of it, and I'm not resentful about it anymore at all. Like things are the way they are. And that's as a result of a million different factors. None of them my fault necessarily, and there's a lot of pain behind them, and I empathize with that deeply. I really do, but it just doesn't mean it doesn't suck. And so, adult children of emotionally immature parents can get very overwhelmed when they're in situations where they feel needed or they feel like others are relying on them, because you've never really felt like there were people there like that for you. It's like, where's my me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I've written about that and I've talked about that, and that's a lot of where this comes from. It's always feeling like the responsible one, always feeling the one that has to hold things together.
Yeah.
And if that's what's been required of me in life, so be it. There could be worse things, I guess, but it also comes with this side that it wears you out. You get overstimulated, you're over functioning, and you feel like you can never get a rest or a break because like the people that were supposed to be regulating you, you're having to regulate from a very young age and be the responsible one. And that's the effects. And so your mom sometimes will trauma dump on you. Like this is a very common one. I've been through that a million times, and part of conversations that I should have never been part of when I was younger. Hearing some stuff about adult relationships that I just should have never heard. Really inappropriate type conversations. At the time, I didn't know it. At the time, I thought, oh, I'm trusted with this information. I must be needed. Therefore, I can have this convo. I'm obviously ready for it if an adult is trusting me with it, which is the danger there, I think. Or like, let's say that you were a boy, and my dad never did any of this, but like you get the silent treatment when you cry. They let you in so many ways know that that's not okay.
Yeah.
That men don't act that way.
There's
you
no
don't get to
comfort
feel
there.
feelings. And so you never feel validated. And this could be something like a girl turning you down. This could be that you didn't make your high school basketball team. This can be anything, like normal shit that people go through where they just need someone to tell them it's okay.
Yeah.
And you don't ever get that because your parents, they can't do it for themselves, much less you.
Right.
And that hurts. And so you grow up and that causes problems in and of itself because it's hard for you to validate other people when you don't really not even sure how. Like you can do it. You've had to do it for your parents, but a lot of it's like, it's tough to do for other people for some reason. It's strange. It's this weird dynamic. It's hard to describe.
For sure.
You've also never really heard I'm sorry or I was wrong. It's always conditional.
That's that accountability.
Yeah, it's conditional apologies. There's a lot of that going on. You've basically have to manage their feelings. And sometimes it's because you're too much or because life's just too much. And it's just like one thing on your plate. Like I know for us as parents, we've always wanted to give our children tools to deal with life.
Yep.
We've always just wanted to be there to sort of like steward them in the right direction, but allow them, to fail and to fail safely. I've never wanted them to feel like they were just too much and I didn't have time for any of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Emotionally immature adults will do this to you.
Yeah. I try not to save them, but I try to comfort them and let them know that everything's going to be okay and then give them the tools to get through it, and I validate them. So we kind of try to find that gray area. Yeah. Because you can go too far too.
Oh, people-pleasing behaviors, I think, sometimes stem from this. I know they did within me.
Oh, for sure.
When no one ever apologizes, you have to apologize first just to keep the peace. And you learn pretty quickly that that's the fastest way to return to normal in your home. And so you find yourself taking responsibility for probably more than you should and apologizing first, even when you weren't wrong. And an adult, it's so inappropriate for an adult to even put you in that position, but that's just what you've come to know is normal. And this is where a lot of these families are sitting. Like, when there's addiction present, there's a lot of times this is behind it. A lot of the times this is behind it. So you're not just dealing with a husband that's got problems. You're dealing with a whole family system that is crooked and dysfunctional. And you might feel like the only one that feels like you've got your head on straight. And so I wanted to ask you, like, what was it like watching this stuff from the outside? Oh,
it was very challenging to watch it from the outside because I was like, okay, how do you not see this? Like, how do you not understand, right from wrong, I guess you could say. And of course, you would say something like, oh, this is just my life. This is just what it is. This is okay. This is normal. This is not, this is all I know. But from the outside, it's like, no, this is not okay. Like, I can see that these things are not okay. This is not normal. This is not, this is going to impact you in the future. I know it's going to impact you in the future if something isn't done about it. So it's really hard.
And I wasn't always that cordial about it. You're making it sound like I was just easy to deal with. I pushed back a lot.
Oh, yeah, you pushed back
I defended it. I defended the whole system.
Yes, you did.
All the time.
Yeah, you did. And that was difficult and it's super challenging to get through because I'm like, no. And then I would have to question myself. I would start normalizing or I would start minimizing it and thinking, okay, well, if he says it's okay, then everything's okay. But years and years would go by and things would get worse. And it's like, nothing is changing. Like, this is still not okay. And then I finally got to a point where I'm like, okay, I was pretty right in the beginning. Like, I know that this was not what I wanted in my life. I didn't want this, and this went against my values. This isn't something that I want. And I had to be okay with that, even if you didn't catch up to that yet.
Yeah. And it's horrible to say. I wish I would have just listened. I guess there's always been a dynamic between in-laws, right? Like a lot of times you're not going to like the way that your spouse's family does things. Like they just do it all wrong. It's because it's different than the way that you did it. But you weren't identifying that basic stuff. You weren't identifying like the little traditions that we had, or maybe that we went a little heavy on gifts for like a certain holiday. It was like,
I mentioned that.
You mentioned it, but it was much deeper than like that surface level stuff that a lot of people deal with.
I knew that was caused by deeper things.
It was so much deeper than that.
But a lot of people a lot of people can't really put their fingers on what it is that's really bothering them. So it makes it very complicated to bring it up. Because you don't really know, because someone could say something very minor. It's like, oh, I would talk about things sometimes with my family members and they'd be like, oh, that's not that bad. Or why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? And I'm just like, there's something else underlying that is bad. That is not okay in my eyes. And I finally got to the root of it, over time.
Yeah. And it took me, it's not that I didn't hear you or didn't listen, but it took me having to hear it from enough people over time to really start to see it.
Yes.
Where you would tell stories about your family and things that were going on and people's jaws just drop. Mm-hmm. And they're like, holy shit, that is bad. That's real bad.
Yeah, That's really didn't start happening. You really didn't start recognizing how damaging it could be until you started talking to other people outside of our relationship, or professionals. Or
professionals helped me a lot here.
Like newer friends, like people who weren't really
who weren't used to it.
Yeah, and I think even some of the friends that we grew up with, I think that they knew too. It just wasn't discussed. It's not something that was discussed,
Yeah. Another common one that we'd written down, I forgot about, was if you tell your parent that you're struggling, it can be with anything. It can be with finances and you're just stressed about it. It can be with depression or feeling useless or worthless. And as you're going through these periods of life when you're trying to grow up and figure shit out, and instead of listening, they say something to the effect of, well, you had it better than I ever did. And what are you complaining about?
Yeah.
It's that invalidating nature
like,
of something like that.
Bad. You can get over it. Like,
so there's a time and a place to tell someone to like suck it up, but it's not all the time. I know that.
No, because I did do that with one of our kids at one point. It was awful. After I said it, I was like, I cannot believe I said that.
So did I really just say that?
It was so awful. But I made it.
Hence why you're not an emotionally immature person, because they would never think twice about that. It's almost like when people say, am I the narcissist? Well, the fact that you're questioning it tells me you're not the narcissist.
It's what you do with it. It's not the fact that you're going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. I'm not going to beat myself up over all the mistakes. But since we're in this area of stuff, like I see this stuff all the time. So I'm very hyper aware of it as a parent. So when I do it, I'm like, shit, like, damn it, I did that and I need to be better. I've got to fix this. And I try to get better. And I do. And it's what I do with it, and I don't beat myself up too much. I think we're all parents. We all do crazy shit, but this is deeper, like much deeper. This is like constantly doing the same thing over and over again and not having any awareness, no accountability, no changed behavior, not really feeling bad for how you treated your kids. That's the problem.
Yeah. And it's also the defense of the person who's in that system that comes with challenging it or calling it out, and the loneliness that you feel and the rift that causes in your marriage and your relationship too. Because you don't know crazy when you're in it. It's only once you're out of it. And you've talked about, like you always said, like there's something about that. There's something going on here and I can't put my finger on it. I think the best way to describe what that is a lot of listeners are probably thinking the same thing. Like they can think of all these like symptoms of it, but what is it actually? It's what it really boils down to, I think, is enmeshment. And enmeshment, I think, gives us kind of the best idea of what really is going on in family systems like this. And so, like, what is enmeshment? It is, it's when you have no emotional separation between you and your parents, or you and your extended family, you and that family system. You're their person. Like, so whether that's their quote unquote therapist or their caretaker,
best friend.
Yeah, their best friend, that person that they rely on. And you'll know that you're enmeshed when you start to set boundaries and they are viewed as betrayal.
Yep.
Again, I'll say that again. You will know that you're enmeshed when you start to set boundaries, because your boundaries will be viewed as betrayal. That is the best way to tell.
They will throw fits over your boundaries, and that's a problem.
And what have we always said?
If somebody throws a fit, and when you set a boundary, that means that boundary needed to be set.
Boom.
And like, this is something that I respect with my family is like, I have boundaries and they're very respectful of my boundaries. Like no one's ever thrown a fit with any of my boundaries. They allow me to be who I want to be. They trust me to be the adult and the parent that I want to be. They give me that autonomy. They allow me to do all these things and there's no fits thrown. Now let's say that there's something they want to talk about that, you know, might upset them or whatever. We'll talk about it, but it's not making it about them. I feel like whenever you're enmeshed in a family system and you do start setting boundaries, you start speaking your mind, the person who benefited from your lack of boundaries is just going to make it all about them and not even respect who you are and what you want to do, even as a parent or an adult or whatever.
It goes smooth over their head.
It does. It goes completely over their head because you're changing the dynamics. Family systems need to change over time, but sometimes in the dysfunctional family systems, they have this like mentality of like, this is how we've always done it. This is how we're going to do it. It's my way or the highway. These are our traditions. This is how it's always supposed to be. And they don't,
because I said so.
Because I said so. And then they don't recognize that things change. People change. Your children will change.
And the relationship with your children should change over time.
Change over time. Yes, absolutely.
At some point, you become an adult and you earn a spot at the adult table and you can start to have adult conversations. That time's not when you're a child, and the time to have children conversations is not when you're an adult.
Yeah.
And enmeshed families and immature people get this wrong all the time.
All the time.
And it's so frustrating.
So that's just a red flag for you. If you feel like, you know, something is wonky, that's what it is. And especially if you're a spouse, okay? If you're a spouse of like your partner is enmeshed in their family and you start setting boundaries like within your children and with holidays and with stuff like that, and their family starts throwing fits over it, that's a red flag. That means that there's something just kind of wonky there that needs to be addressed by your partner.
Mm-hmm.
But they may not see that because they'll look at it as, oh, that's not a big deal. Because Matt did this for years. I tried to set boundaries with our children since they were born. And Matt was very good at what he did. And he was very good at like, no, it's okay. We'll be okay. That's just how they'll do it.
Peacekeeper.
Everything. Or, you know, I know that my family doesn't do what your family does, but this is okay. You know, everything will be okay. And I should have listened to my gut. Like I should have listened to my gut and said, no, these are my boundaries. And if you're not on board, so be it. I'm going to continue putting these boundaries up. But it was hard when he wasn't on board. Very, very hard.
It's almost impossible. Like we've never had any fights in our relationship really that weren't about this. We don't fight about anything else. Mm-mm. How often do we ever disagree about anything else?
I don't know. We talked about that on the other episode.
Like never.
I mean, sometimes we do.
I'm trying to think about I even asked you, I was like, what's the most recent fight that we've had that wasn't this?
I don't even remember.
Exactly. I can't either.
I don't know.
So this was a huge one for us.
Yeah.
A huge one to get over, a huge one to, you know, to hurdle. Man, it's really, really difficult. And if you're in it, shit, we're there with you.
This was actually a big one. I didn't even read this, but you weren't allowed to have a different opinion without being disrespectful. So I remember with you're not allowed to have a different opinion within certain systems because it meant that you're disrespecting somebody. And again, that just goes back to me saying that they're making it all about them instead of you and what you disagree with. Like, It's okay to disagree with stuff. It's okay. You need to hold that space as a parent for your adult child, you know, to be able to have these disagreements.
Yeah, you're not allowed to disagree. They are the parent, they are the authority figure, and they will always be as such. They will never see you as an adult. Man, and like as you start to stand up for yourself and assert yourself and set boundaries and things like that, eventually at some point, I'm telling you, eventually the chickens always come home to roost. Other people will figure this out too, and you will be at fault for every bit of it. They will have convinced everyone, or themselves anyway, that you are the ringleader and you turned everyone against them. And that's how far they take it. Like even when everyone is saying, hey, you've really got to do some work, they still stand steadfast in their belief that I'm right, you're all wrong. And if you would just do things my way, then everything would be fine. Mm-hmm. It almost sounds like an addict. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's why
the similarities are striking.
This is why we talk about this.
The similarities are striking.
Yes,
and this is,
we know all about it.
This is where a lot of the behaviors are learned for a lot of people that struggle with addiction, and if you're anything like me, like if you've ever listened to our episodes, you're like, oh, my husband's just like that guy.
Yeah.
I guarantee there's a family system behind it that
for
played
sure.
into that.
Absolutely.
And there's someone in their family you can identify and go, yeah, that's where they learned it. It does come from, it's passed down.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some other examples of this stuff? Enmeshment. I'm just trying to think.
Your successes were their wins, or your failures were their shame.
I'm trying to think if that really applied. Not really to me. Do you think it did? But
No.
I've heard this before from other people. My specifics, no, not so much me, but no doubt someone's dealt with that.
I feel like that's something that I would struggle with, because that's something I have to tell myself all the time, is that, people that we mentor, like their wins are their wins and their losses are their losses.
They're not
It's
yours.
not mine. But as a mentor, that's difficult. And you went through that as a sponsor as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure, because you're like, oh, I have these life-changing tools that I can help you with, here, take them. And if someone takes them, you're like, yes, cool, awesome, got this. But if somebody doesn't, you're like, oh shit, where did I fuck up? Why couldn't I get through to them? Why couldn't I, really help them more? And it's like, well, you can't take that on. That's not your responsibility, because it's their responsibility to take it, not you.
Yeah, you have to respect an individual's having autonomy.
Absolutely.
And take away that is enmeshment. It's like, oh, everything is connected. The wins are because of me and the losses are because of me. And
Right.
it's not true.
No, it's not.
And that's a failure to see people as individuals,
Yes.
which is where a lot of this stuff happens. But
Yeah.
I think that guys have been guilty of this too. Let's say that you've got a dad that you're close to. He calls you his best friend, and he tells you about some of the unsavory things he does, having affairs, and makes you promise to keep quiet about it. This shit you don't share with your kids, man.
Mm-mm.
I don't think you ever do, really. Call me crazy, but I just don't think you go there. That's what other adults are for, not your children.
Yeah, you have therapists for that. You have friends for that.
I mean, maybe you want to come clean about it and just be honest, but not to keep it a secret for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think that we talked briefly about like what happens whenever you have emotionally immature parents and like you feel unseen. And what? You're staring at me crazy.
I didn't stare at you at all.
Okay.
I
I
was
got
reading.
this vibe from you all of a sudden. Okay.
Oh my God, you know my vibes. I was just trying to figure out where you were going, because we were still on enmeshment.
Do you have anything else on enmeshment?
No, I don't. I wanted to go to neglect.
Okay, let's talk neglect.
Because we had somebody actually ask about neglect in the fan mail.
By the way, fan mail. Get them with the fan mail page.
Oh, yes, we have fan mail either in Spotify. I think you can do it on Apple as well. I'm not sure. There's like a little space that says, do you have an episode idea? Click here, fill it in, send it to us. And we can possibly do an episode based on something that you want to hear. We can't answer the questions directly. It literally just comes to us, and there's no inbox or anything like that. We don't know who you are. You can just give us some ideas and we'll create an episode for you.
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. Yeah.
Maybe.
Sometimes we've already done the episodes, or possibly it's not really a question that we can answer. So I don't know.
Yeah. Neglect.
Oh, you want to go into that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I thought you had something else to say about fan mail.
No, I appreciate it. I love when we get that kind of stuff, though. It means you guys are engaged and you're listening. You want to know more.
Yeah. And you actually tell us what we've hit on and what we haven't. Like somebody in the fan mail said they wanted a part 2 or something, or touch on neglect, because we did touch on it before, but we didn't really dig into it very much. So we're going to dig into it here a little bit more, so you can understand what neglect means, because a lot of the times we think that neglect just means that like, oh, somebody's basically abandoning you. They're not taking care of you. They're not feeding you. They don't give you shelter. They're not giving you clothes. No, neglect is different. Like it can be completely, you don't really know that it's happening until later on.
Yeah, it's subtle in a lot of ways.
It's subtle. Yeah.
It's subtle in a lot of ways. Like it's not exactly what you think. I never would have considered myself neglected at all, because materially you had everything you needed. You had a roof over your head. You give me a look again.
I don't want to touch on that one.
You don't?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think you want to touch on that one.
Maybe I do. What is this?
You were very neglected.
Oh.
How can you say that you didn't feel that you were? I guess, you know what? I guess that you didn't feel like you were, because you were being fed. You did have money.
What she's referring to is at a time in my life, probably high school, as my mother was going through a really difficult time in her own life. She just bailed for weeks and weeks on end, and we just wouldn't see her at all. Like it was months throughout my high school.
Yeah,
life.
I wasn't allowed to go to
You weren't
your
allowed at my house at this time
because
your parents
my mom
knew there was
found
no
out
adults.
that there was an adults there. So my mom was like, "Nope, you're not allowed over there anymore." And I was like,
and I guess as an adult, as a teenager, you think it's cool. You think you're trusted, and so we would throw parties and do all kinds of crazy shit at the house, and it was like our own little house. But looking back on it now, having a teenager, I'm like, that is crazy. Where were y'all? That's crazy. That is absolutely neglectful.
That was just a very big red flag that I had when we were together. Like I was like, this is not okay. This is not structured. This is not a very organized.
Yeah, so that's family. That's like physical neglect. There's also we're talking about more like emotional neglect.
Yes, more subtle.
Yeah, and your emotions are minimized or just completely dismissed. Anytime that you have a problem, it's minimized. It's not a problem, right? The only to the extent that there is a problem, you're the problem. Sort of like this gaslighting approach that emotionally immature people take, or you're just entirely dismissed. They don't even want to hear what you have to say. They don't give a shit what you have to say, or you even bringing something like this up brings shame to them, and that's too much for them to bear. And then they turn it around and they need to make it about them and how their shit is more important. And it's like, you're fucking damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And at the end of it, you just feel lonely. You feel really, really lonely in it all. You got some of this from me, but you saw this happen to me as well.
Being neglected.
Yeah.
With the emotional
and
part.
I know
yes,
that
absolutely.
I know there have been times in our relationship where you have cried tears on my behalf because I couldn't for myself.
Yes.
Because it's really hard to watch someone go through that.
Absolutely. It was extremely difficult to watch you go through that because I was like, I know it's something that I didn't want to do with my children. And I was very heartbroken that you had to go through that. But you didn't, I feel like I was more heartbroken about things that you went through than you were. And I think that that's pretty common with those that are in these types of situations.
Yeah. And I think part of that's.
Or it could be my empathy as well.
I think everyone handles that maybe a bit different.
Okay.
I think that there are some people that it is just everyone's personality is a little bit different. I think my take on it was always like, I can't change it. It is what it is. Let's just move forward. I don't even really want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. I just got to move forward. And there's another, and maybe it's the age at which you were when this all took place. Maybe it's just your mental makeup. And it really, really, really affects you.
Yeah.
I've kind of seen that go both ways. I know for me, I don't know. It's kind of screwed up because in some ways you think like it's just what I deserve. And I think, I struggled with a long time with self-worth, like really struggled with self-worth, like not really feeling like I was good enough because if no one paid attention to me, if no one gave a shit, then there must be a reason for that. Like I must not be as important. I must not have anything meaningful to say. And you kind of like fall into this role of like whipping boy where you're just there to serve other people and you don't really matter. And you're never really, I don't know, like no one's really building you up, I guess. I remember that you having a real hard time with that when I would do it to myself and knowing like where that came from too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I didn't do a very good job at building you up either when we were younger. I was kind of hard on you.
We were kids, man. I'm talking about now.
But shit, I was hard on you.
I also needed it as we're sitting here talking about what my home life was like. We needed it too, but it's really tough because you grow up to be an adult that doesn't believe in themselves, doesn't think they're cut out for much of anything else, that is just so used to dysfunction that you don't aspire for much of anything more. Like you like that's all life is. That's all
right,
it's just hard to want more for yourself, I guess. Yeah. And you always encouraged me like I was worth it and
you were a born leader, man.
I could do cool things. Like that's just hard.
Yeah.
Like, that shit's hard for me to hear. I don't take compliments well because I don't believe them. Partly, but you've always been so good about it. I know that it broke your heart a lot though. And so I know a lot of listeners probably feel the same way as you watch your best friend being mistreated like this and how freaking hard that is, how difficult that is to see, man. And I think that self-soothing is a wonderful skill that we learn as little kids, but not all the time. Sometimes it's really, really comforting to know that there are other people there who got your back. I think that neglect kind of played into that too for me, where I feel like I have to be self-sufficient. And if I have to fix this, I'm going to fix everything for everyone. I think that a big part of it.
You still struggle with that a little bit.
Big time.
I mean, that's a big thing that you've been dealing with even lately, a lot lately that I've noticed.
And
just having to want to fix everything.
It brings a weight and stress of its own. That's really like, it's not coming from anywhere but me.
I know, you've gone to the extreme. We've talked about this, how we both have gone to the extreme. Like you've gone to the part where you want to fix everything, which a lot of people say that spouses of addicts and alcoholics just want to fix everything. So you're kind of like on that extreme side.
Yeah.
And I can be on the other side where I'm just like, no, you're on your own. Like I'm not going to fix anything for you anymore. It's kind of crazy. What time is it?
7:27.
Okay. Thank you.
We got to roll. Pretty soon.
I've got 10 minutes.
Okay. Man, I want to know more. Like we're sitting here talking about what this stuff is, but I just want to know more about like what your experience was like through this, seeing the other side of it and then being so fucking frustrated because you're the only one that sees this shit show for what it is and no one's listening.
It's lonely as hell because you're like, okay, but I knew deep down it all went against my values and I couldn't just give in. I couldn't just cave. I couldn't just like accept it, right? It's not something that I could ever just accept. I always felt like I always had to say something. I always needed to bring it up. I always had to be like, okay, Matt, you're better than this. Like, come on, let's go. I know that you've got it in you to move past this, and grow past it. But it was just very lonely to feel like nobody heard me, and I felt like nobody heard. I just felt alone. It was extremely lonely.
I think once again, we got lucky here because I saw the light before you ran out of patience. Mm-hmm. But do you think there is such a thing as running out of patience?
Absolutely.
And you get to that point where...
Yes, I do. Because I've said this before. This was the one thing that could have probably... This is the one thing that I could have easily left over.
Beyond the addiction and everything else, this is the thing.
Yes, because this is the root. This
caused more problems.
This is the root of the problem. This was the root of the problem. If this didn't change, I felt like nothing else was going to fully change within our lives.
I think that's accurate too. I really do. I think that the longer you stay attached to that system, it's almost like this little umbilical cord that feeds you the chaos and it feeds you these ways of behaving and responding and acting, and it keeps you in this role that you had as a child. You're never, ever going to be able to really flourish on your own with your own family when you still got that tether to that system and you're really enmeshed in it.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, and I think this is a perfect segue into going no contact. Going no contact is the last resort. I just want to say that. I think that we tried everything we possibly could before getting to that point.
100%.
But I'm at the point now where I don't talk to my mother at all. I talk to my dad on a very regular basis. I don't talk to my mom unless it's business related because we do business together. But other than that, I don't talk to her. And it's because I discovered, much like with drugs and alcohol, that the amount I can take is zero. Because I tried everything. I tried just to show up on holidays. I tried to show up on birthdays.
I tried to reach boundaries.
out. Yeah, I tried to reach out on occasion. I tried to do all this stuff, and it never got any better. We always ended up back at square one. It's just like addiction, where there's the amount that I can actually handle and have a healthy, thriving, functional adult personal life that's very rich, and a wonderful marriage and a closeness with you and loyalty, and the line is zero. And that was their decision, though, not mine. That was their decision. I think that's something I had to come to terms with for a long time. I feel like I was hurting people in setting boundaries. It's like, hey, you can't respond that way. If you continue to do that, then you're not going to see me or you're not going to be in contact with me. I had to remove myself from that situation, and it was fucking painful, especially when other people don't see it that way and you just feel like a leper.
You felt lonely.
And you're eating holiday dinners alone, and it's really tough, and you will grieve it. There is no shortcut. I know the questions we're going to get are, how do you get past it? You just get through it, and you're going to grieve, and it hurts, but it gets easier. It does get easier. And it's actually something that's reassuring is every so often when I do have to interact, I'm reminded really quickly why I did what I did and why we did what we did. And it reinforces it. I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. I needed to be reminded because I started to feel sorry for everyone and started to think that I was crazy and I'm being too hard on people and I'm too much and this is just too firm.
It's very similar to a trauma bond.
It's a trauma bond, man. Trying to break it is like a trauma bond. It really is. But when do you think that going no contact is the healthiest option? Because you worked through this in therapy extensively.
Yes, I did. I think that whenever you realize that your boundaries are don't mean anything to these people.
They're a joke.
That it's a joke. And like, you can start setting boundaries. It's what I always encourage people is to try to start setting boundaries.
What were some of the first ones?
Let's gift giving. Okay. With the children.
So like, my mother equates, money with love.
Yes.
It's like she's transactional.
Yes. Yes. And, I didn't want my children to be
in that.
Yeah. I didn't want that to happen.
It's a value of ours. Money shouldn't be that important. It caused a lot of problems in my early life.
Right.
We believe in that strongly.
I asked specifically to limit gifts. I think we were very kind about it. We sent it, to all of the parents, all the grandparents, and everybody was very understanding of like, okay, I get it. Let's keep it very simple. And
one person
was not too thrilled about that. Tried to just
circumvent the boundary.
Yes.
By like still purchasing everything, just keeping it in different places to introduce the kids to.
Or like trying to give me options on what I can do to give it to them in different ways or whatnot.
Or another one was like, don't have adult conversations with my children. Like, don't make plans for our family without talking to me first.
Yes.
Which means like, you're not going to plan a family vacation that then my kids come and ask me about and I feel obligated to do. Don't put me in that position, please. I would ask that you not do that. If you continue to do that, you're not going to get access to the kids.
Correct.
And that happened. That was crossed.
Yes, that was crossed. Every boundary.
Be honest about things. If you could just be honest with me, like I'm just asking for honesty. It's a value we believe in strongly. If you're going to be lying about something, you're not going to get access to me and my family. Stop that. And it could be any number of little white lies that seem harmless to anything to where it's a pretty big fucking deal. Safety stuff like this is dangerous.
I'm glad that you mentioned white lies because that was actually very common within your family dynamics.
Yeah,
because I remember whenever you were younger, you're like, oh, it's just a little white lie. It's not a big deal. And I remember she was doing that. Like it was like totally acceptable. And I always felt like this is not right because it was all the time. It wasn't just like, oh, this is just a little white lie. Like it was all the freaking time.
And not just white lies, but also like little white manipulations,
yes,
like little things where you can see like they had set something up or said something to someone. It was manipulative and intentionally manipulative,
right.
Like narcissistic stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it just felt icky and it just felt wrong. And I'm just like, this is not okay. Like, I'm not okay with that. So I just kind of slowly started backing myself out of the situations. I wouldn't go to holidays. I wouldn't be into the text messages. I'm just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
And you just went cold, no contact.
I did.
And then I kind of weaned myself off where I tried it. I tried to do the thing that I felt was right. And it got to a point where even I couldn't do that.
I tried too.
Sure,
I did.
You did.
I tried for a very long time.
Yeah,
until I got to a point where I was like, for me personally, I don't have that pain tolerance like Matt does. Matt can go forever and ever and ever. I know my limits and I know when I need to cut off and when I need to back off. Because if I don't, it's just going to continue happening and get worse. So I tried and then I stopped and then I was like, you know what? This is actually great. I'm feeling pretty damn good right now because I'm getting more clarity. But again, it still felt very, very alone.
Yeah. And I felt like I was betraying you. I felt like I was betraying my family and I was torn in half. And ultimately I made the decision. And it's embarrassing to admit it took me as long as it did, but it did because you don't know until like, when you're raised in it, you just don't know that that's dysfunction.
It doesn't help that you're in business too. Like it's all enmeshed.
Right.
It's not just, like personal. It's all enmeshed.
Yeah. But it's time to go low or no contact. And I suggest going low before you go no, so you can get an idea. You're going to have to, in my experience anyway, wean yourself out of it.
Unless your gut is like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah, there's some things where you're like, fuck them, out. But if people are belittling or mocking your healing, if they're talking to other family members behind your back about your boundaries, like there's some kind of a effing joke or something.
They're trying to get other people on their side.
Yeah. If boundaries
against you.
Boundaries that lead to like manipulation or guilt trips about how awful you are and you've taken away something from them, like your property or something, right? That people have entitled to you. Or I think for us, what a big one was like when your kids are starting to be exposed to the stuff that you're really trying to prevent. Like you're trying to keep them from going through the same shit that you went through. Yeah. And when that stuff starts to spread on your kids, it's like, no, we're not doing that.
Right. Cycle breaker.
Not doing that. Yeah. When it really starts to bleed into your own family, that's when you have to make a decision. And it's tough.
Not easy.
Really, really tough, man.
Years and years of this is going to take process. It's a process.
It really is. Yeah. When people treat your healing like a betrayal, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. That's maybe the biggest red flag of all time, is whenever your healing feels like betrayal to them.
Like when you bring it up, when you start changing, you start doing these boundaries, like we said earlier, you start saying stuff and they're like, oh no, you can't say that. You can't do that. That's disrespectful. How dare you have a boundary set? You know, like how dare you do your own thing and protect yourself? And
there's like TikTok is split on this. Social media is too. If you've ever seen like a strange family TikTok, you've got like the boomer parents that feel like cutting your family off is just immature, and it's just like it's an abomination. Who could ever do that? But it's not immature. It's not immature. In fact, it's the opposite of that. Refusing to change is immature.
Yeah.
Refusing to take accountability is immature.
Or listening.
Even if you don't think it's that big of a deal, it's a big deal to them. Okay, it's a big deal to them. Like listen to your kids.
Communicate about it. Like if you don't agree, just have a conversation about it and agree to disagree. My mom and I agree to disagree all the damn time.
All kinds of shit.
All the time. It's just like I agree to disagree. That's cool.
And I am absolutely not allowed to do that.
No.
Without question. No. That is betrayal is what that is.
Yeah, and see, I don't want that to trickle onto my kids.
Yeah, but you also don't owe access to people just because you share DNA.
Yep. We talk about that all the time too.
A lot of people feel very strongly about that in the opposite direction, but I don't think that it means a hell of a lot. I really don't. Having been on the other side of this, we're healthier now. We're happier now. We're still heartbroken. Don't get me wrong, but overall it's better. We're living a life that we aspire to, a life by our own values and the way that we want to do things. And it's not crazy. You could present it to anyone. They would say, it's not like we didn't have beef over like some bullshit. Like this is serious stuff.
Do you really feel this way?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
This is serious shit we're talking about.
I know
it's not
that.
like little petty stuff that we disagree on.
We went so many
back
years
and forth. And I try to see the absolute best in people, and I give people the benefit of the doubt, and to a fault, I think. There goes the people pleaser in me, I guess. And it's just part of me, and I'm not going to change. No. I'm just going to learn the hard way that who gets access to that and who doesn't. But I'm never going to change the way I am. I like the way I am.
I think that's good. That's solid. I like that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm never going to change. I will always be optimistic about people, and I'll always give them the benefit of the doubt. And I'll continue to be surprised that people are crazier than I thought. And I'm cool with that. I refuse to just become jaded because of a select amount of people.
I don't think I'm jaded. I just think that
You were born that way. You always been jaded. Straight up.
Okay, you're not wrong.
But ultimately what I did choose is this family, the family that lives under this roof. It's this is what I chose, and I do not regret it. I wish I could give you something like, I know the questions we're going to get are going to be, well, how do I get him to do what you did? I could sit down with him maybe if we ever have a workshop and explain where I'm at, but it's just going to be a process of him having to figure it out the hard way.
Right.
Unfortunately.
They're going to have to figure
it out.
But always stand your ground. I'll be honest about that. If your gut is saying that something is off, always stand your ground. Set your own boundaries. That's what we talked about last time too.
Yeah. So more on dysfunctional family systems, enmeshment, immature parents, and neglect. And guys, I'm being serious when I say this. We could probably have our own podcast, a separate show altogether where we have new episodes on this every single week.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of wishy-washy and uncomfortable talking about it, but we'll get more into that, I think, over time as it becomes more comfortable and just. But God, we've got so much stuff to share on this.
Yes, we do.
So much. Hopefully that's been helpful. If anything, validating you're not alone in this. Until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Paige.
We'll see you.
Bye.